They forced her to do the unthinkable.
Wherein has what he wants. I kill you and Benji.
She was cornered and didn't have any support, but they were absolutely unaware that this part of her plan to take the perfect revenge on perfect time. Welcome back to Paramount Recapped. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me.
He's our ally.
There are no allies in statecraft, Ilsa.
The movie kicks off with IMF agents Benji, Luther, Ethan, and Brant pulling off a daring mission in Belarus. They intercept a military plane carrying nerve gas,
The package is still on the plane.
preventing it from falling into the hands of terrorists. Afterward, Ethan swings by a record shop in London, where he picks up a coded message about his ongoing investigation into a shadowy group called the Syndicate.
Known as the Syndicate.
This organization has been behind numerous attacks in Western aligned countries. As Ethan listens, the message confirms the Syndicate's existence.
This would support your suspicion that a shadow organization.
But before he can act, the room locks him in, and he's forced to watch as a man, later revealed to be Solomon Lane, murders the store clerk and vanishes. Meanwhile, back in Washington, CIA Director Alan Hunley pushes to dissolve the IMF,
Time has come to dissolve the IMF.
accusing them of reckless behavior during their missions. With no leader at the helm, Hunley convinces a Senate committee to merge the IMF with the CIA.
Today is the day when the IMF's luck runs out.
Ethan, now captured by the Syndicate, finds himself in a torture chamber. Among his captors is Janik Vinter, aka the Bone Doctor, a supposedly dead operative. Just as things are about to get gruesome, another Syndicate member, Ilsa Faust, steps in. She helps Ethan escape, but disappears without offering any answers about her motives. Out of danger, Ethan contacts Brant to share the grim updates. He describes a blonde man with glasses he spotted at the record shop, his only lead. Brant informs Ethan about the IMF's merger with the CIA,
Media shut us down. Operations have been handed over.
which feels like a nail in the coffin for Ethan's mission. Still, Brant encourages him to keep going, framing it as the IMF's potential swan song. Back in DC, Hunley interrogates Brant about Ethan's whereabouts. Brant insists Ethan is hunting the Syndicate, but Hunley remains skeptical, as the CIA doesn't even believe the Syndicate exists.
I believe that the Syndicate is a figment of his imagination.
6 months later, Ethan is still off the grid. The CIA raids a suspected hideout in Havana, but Ethan is actually in Paris, using decoys to gather intel on the Syndicate's members.
Langley, there's nobody here.
At the same time, Ethan's old friend Benji, now working for the CIA, receives an invitation to the Vienna Opera. Sensing it's from Ethan, Benji takes the bait. At the opera, Ethan reconnects with Benji and lays out his plan to locate Solomon Lane,
Join the IMF. See the world.
who is expected to attend the event. The two uncover a Syndicate plot to assassinate the Austrian Chancellor. Though Ilsa is part of the assassination attempt, Ethan thwarts her gunshot. However, the Chancellor's car explodes moments later, killing him anyway. Ethan and Ilsa flee the scene, with Benji picking them up in a getaway car. In the vehicle, Ilsa reveals her true identity as an undercover MI6 agent, working to infiltrate the Syndicate.
Pretty sure she's British intelligence.
To maintain her cover, she asks Ethan to make her escape look genuine. Reluctantly, he pushes her out of the car to preserve her disguise. After the Chancellor's death, Hunley pins the blame on Ethan and Benji, assigning the Special Activities Division to track them down. At Ethan's hideout, he offers Benji a new identity and a ticket home, but Benji refuses, choosing to stay and help. Ethan then shares what he's uncovered. The Syndicate is composed of former field agents from various countries, all presumed dead or missing. He believes Lane, who always seems to be near global disasters, is the key to dismantling the organization. The duo follows a lead on a USB drive linked to Ilsa and tracks her to Morocco. Meanwhile, Brant enlists Luther to help locate Ethan and Benji before the CIA catches up. In Morocco, Ilsa explains that Lane, a former British intelligence operative, founded the Syndicate. MI6 knows about the organization, but has kept the information from the CIA to avoid embarrassment over one of their own going rogue. Ilsa reveals that critical data on the Syndicate's members and plans is stored on a ledger secured in a high-tech vault beneath a power plant. The trio devises a risky plan to retrieve the ledger. Benji hacks the security systems while Ethan dives into the vault to update the security profile. Despite a near-fatal moment where Ethan passes out, Ilsa rescues him, and they successfully retrieve the file. However, Ilsa double-crosses them, knocking Benji out and fleeing with the USB. Ethan and Benji chase after Ilsa, but crash during the pursuit. Luckily, Brandt and Luther arrive just in time to help. While Benji is rescued, Ilsa escapes once more. Back at their hideout, Benji surprises the team by revealing he copied the file before Ilsa took it, giving them a new lead to follow. Ilsa returns to London and hands the USB over to her MI6 handler, Atlee. She expects her mission to be over, but Atlee pressures her to rejoin the syndicate and kill Ethan to regain Lane's trust. When she hesitates, Atlee threatens to expose her to the CIA, leaving her with no choice but to comply. Ethan and his team are struggling to crack open a crucial file, but they discover that it's locked inside the British government's high-security red box, protected by triple encryption. The only way to unlock it? The British Prime Minister's biometric data.
The Prime Minister of Great Britain himself.
Realizing that Lane just used them to steal the data, Brandt suggests warning the Prime Minister, but Ethan insists they find Lane before he can reach him. Meanwhile, Ilsa meets with Lane to hand over the disk, but when they open it, it's empty. Furious, Lane thinks she betrayed him, but still keeps her in the syndicate and sends her to deliver a message to Ethan. Ethan and his team head to London, where Ilsa explains the situation. Benji, however, doesn't buy it, since he's the one who copied the data. It becomes clear that Atlee, not Ilsa, erased the files to cover his own involvement with the syndicate. The group is now stuck with a tough decision. Should they hand the data over to the CIA or to Lane? Their discussion is interrupted when Benji is kidnapped by Vinter, and Ilsa disappears into the crowd. Brandt thinks Ilsa set them up, but Ethan disagrees, saying Lane is the only one who knows their next move. As they try to come up with a plan to save Benji, Lane calls Ethan and demands that he hand over the unlocked data in exchange for Benji's life. Ethan agrees, but faces resistance from Brandt, who doesn't like the idea of going after the Prime Minister. Still, Ethan convinces him. As part of their plan, Brandt calls Alan Hunley, urging him to come to London if he wants to take Ethan down. Hunley meets with Brandt at an auction and learns about Ethan's intentions. Panicked, Hunley rushes to warn Atlee, who then sets up a secret meeting with the Prime Minister. Atlee claims that the syndicate was his idea, but when the Prime Minister hears about Ethan's disk, he finally admits the truth. The syndicate was created by Atlee to use former intelligence agents for covert operations. However, Atlee insists it was never meant to go this far. The Prime Minister demands that Atlee explain his role in the public inquiry. Atlee tries to cover his tracks by tranquilizing the Prime Minister, but it's Ethan in disguise. With the Prime Minister knocked out, they take his biometrics to unlock the disk, which reveals a list of offshore accounts funding the syndicate's operations. Meanwhile, the real Atlee arrives, but Ethan and Brandt quickly take him down and force him to admit his involvement. Atlee tries to erase the data on the disk to protect his reputation, but thankfully, they've already copied it. Ethan learns the disk contains access to billions in hidden funds, which he destroys, refusing to let the syndicate benefit. Just as he's about to leave, Lane calls again, revealing that he's planted explosives on Benji's body. He threatens to detonate them unless Ethan hands over the data. Lane taunts Ethan, saying he's always known about his determination, especially after Ethan didn't back down from finding him after Lane killed the girl in the record shop. With time running out, Ethan transfers £50 million into Lane's account, proving he has full access to the files. He offers himself in exchange for Benji and Ilsa. Lane agrees to disarm the explosives and orders his team to capture Ethan alive. Ethan tells Benji to return to Luther and Brandt while he faces Lane directly. Lane's team, determined to kill Ilsa and capture Ethan, starts chasing them, but Ilsa fights back and kills Vinter in a brutal knife fight. Lane eventually catches up with Ethan and lures him into an underground trap. Ethan's team locks Lane inside a glass chamber, and they successfully take him into custody. Ethan says a final goodbye to Ilsa, who tells him he knows where to find her again. After seeing the IMF's success firsthand, Hunley presents the mission to the Senate committee, proving that the IMF's apparent dissolution was part of the plan to take down the syndicate. The committee agrees to reinstate the IMF, and Brandt welcomes Hunley as the new IMF secretary.
Welcome to the IMF, Mr. Secretary.